Let's talk today about homesteading successfully in hard times. First of all, homesteading successfully because of hard times. So, everybody knows grocery store costs are through the roof right now. I was unaware, but I am feeding apparently $60 worth of peppers to my sheep every morning. I didn't know they were that expensive, but there it is. We get peppers in, and I feed them, and I don't know what any of this stuff costs, but that apparently is what it costs. Will you quit trying to take the camera like you took my list, you naughty boy? So, yeah, it's a good idea for anybody who's stressed at the market. If you want to have food at lower cost, vegetables anyway, then grow a garden. It doesn't have to be a huge garden like we do. It can be anything. You can put some stuff in a pot, and that'll save you money. I would encourage everybody to try homesteading to whatever degree that they would like to. It can be very rewarding, and there's always, good and bad, of course, with any kind of farming, but the reward always far outweighs the bad. And there's, of course, not just food to be had, but lessons that are life lessons that you can't find sometimes other ways. So, even if it's just planting you some Swiss chard or greens or, tomatoes, whatever it is, you can definitely save some money over the grocery store. And so I would encourage everybody to try that today. Get out there, plant something in a pot if you have to. So the first thing I would say in homesteading successfully during hard times, other than try it, is remember that God is the source of all provision, and He can provide it however and whenever and wherever He would like. And that was one of the harder lessons that we've learned over our lifetime. Things don't always go to plan, but it goes to His plan. So you can expand your homestead goals at any time because of hardship, or cut back on them because of hardship. Depends on what's going on in your life. If you would like to expand from just simple home gardening to animals, especially with meat prices the way they are, I would encourage you to choose something quick, fast turnover. The fastest turnover you're going to find is actually quail. We do jumbo brown quail, and they are 6 weeks from birth to harvest or to laying eggs. So that's the fastest turnover, and it's an incubation of like 18 days or something like that. So you've got meat real fast. Doves are real fast. 6 weeks old, they're ready, and they're after a 16-day gestation, they're ready to go. Little bit of meat, but sometimes the smaller amounts of meat can be more productive. Rabbits are fast to harvest. You've got a 30-day gestation and then a 3-month time when the kits are growing out. So you're out there a little bit further, but because it's an animal that has litters, then this is my new rabbit, by the way. We went and traded her for a chicken. She has yet to be named. She's a New Zealand satin cross, and they live up to their name. They're very satiny. Supposedly she's 12 weeks. So anyway, she's not ready to go yet, but so chickens, they're somewhat fast, faster than, say, raising a pig out for, a year and a half. But for fastest, I would go quail, doves, then rabbits, then maybe pigs for quickness. Pigs are more versatile for homesteading in hard times. Rabbits, you want to stay on a diet, especially if you're breeding them, of pelletized feed. Baby ones you can get by with a lot more if you're not going to breed them ever. You can get by with hay and wet cob, and I've even heard bread and milk. Haven't tried that one, so I'm not recommending it. But so if you want to expand to make a better larder, pigs are extremely versatile, can be extremely cheap to feed depending on how you're feeding them. If you're feeding them just commercial feed, then no, they're expensive to feed. But if you're feeding them something else, then they can be cheap to feed. and fast, because you can harvest pigs at any time. And that's a 3-week and 3-day gestation on them, and then minimum you should wait like 6 months, even on the mini pigs. Mini pigs, if you feed them right, if you feed them 3 times a day, you can get up pretty fast to a nice weight. So feed substitutions in hard times if you're already homesteading with animals. Like I said, with the rabbits, and then with chickens, you can feed them rice, cooked rice, and cooked beans, and kitchen scraps. They'll eat lots of different things. They can eat wet cob. They can eat whole grains. You can grow vegetables in the garden for them. They love greens, kale, Swiss chard limited because it's got oxalic acid when you serve it raw. So you don't want to give anybody too much of that. Okay, so homesteading in hard times when you already have animals and the feed substitution is not enough. You just don't have the money. Herd reductions are a good way to get yourself out of trouble. Where our hay guy last year asked us to reduce our herds because his hay quantity was not such that he could support the normal amount of loads we had. He brought us hay despite the fact that he was feeding it to his cows, because he had told us he would reserve a load for us. Thank you, by the way, Dan. So he's been really, really good to us, and we did do as he asked, and we reduced our herds. So right now, my goal for my rabbits, and this is good production, is 4 does, 2 bucks. I have way more than that. But we're also switching over to new breeders this year, which for temporarily is more expensive because you're growing out your new breeders and you have the old breeders on ration as well. And then with our goats, we're switching out our herd for younger stock and better stock and more variety. So our goal with the goats is 10 does and then 2 bucks of each breed. The goal with the sheep is about the same, 10 ewes and then 2 rams of each breed. So we're close to our goals. We're going to be selling mom and kid pairs as the season goes on for ones that we're not keeping with the goats. And then my breeders from my rabbitry, they'll either go up for sale or they'll be harvested. Rabbits about 2.5 years, and you need to retire them. Just like with your chicken, you want to check and see how it's laying at the 2.5 year mark, and if it's not laying, then retire it. That's one of the ways that you can very quickly get rid of stock that is draining you. On our homestead, you better be working if you want to eat. So if it's not producing for us, then it can't stay. So it's like my rabbits. I've just had my 3rd set of new replacement doe rabbits kindle and then lose the litter. So they get 2 chances. They just used up their first chance. The second chance, that's on them. If they don't do right the second time, then they become the freezer food. So those are some of the ways you can homestead successfully during the hard times and is herd reduction, unfortunately. But sometimes it just needs to happen, and you need a push to do so. We needed a push to do so. We were aging out on our goat herd. So each goat, and you have to be aware of that. Like if you're trying to save over retirement age goats from your dairy herd, it's not practical. Minimum, they're $25 a month each goat. Maximum grain, they're $50. This is on local hay, guys, but the cost could be a lot more if you're not on local hay. So we're trying to weigh how many goats can we feed, do we want to feed, with the resources we have. So we are always, when we're homesteading, we're trying to allocate resources where it needs to go. And, we have to prioritize certain things over other things at times. Just like we do anything else in life. Okay, so during homesteading, this is something that people don't necessarily know when they're going in. there are sacrifices that need to be made if you really want to homestead, and you're on a budget. We're all on a budget, but then you need to be ready to give up your natural human desire to have what everyone else has. Be that new cars, cable TV, whatever it is, that and be satisfied with what you have instead of that. It often requires sacrifice. The animals come first. The animals are feeding us, so their food comes first. We don't go out to eat. We don't, for the most part, once in a great while. We don't buy a bunch of commercial stuff. We try to use mostly our own homestead products, even though sometimes, like, some things like commercial pickles can be yummier when they're purchased than it is when it's made when homesteading, though we are improving our recipe all the time. But yeah, we don't buy a lot of candy. We buy treats every once and again, and you have to do some of that. But just know it is a sacrificial lifestyle, and that's okay. You actually can learn to be content with less, and we can all do a little bit of that, and try not to be envious of your neighbor that has something you don't, because remember, this is the lifestyle you wanted, and it's very rewarding lifestyle, and our rewards just aren't always material, because you're not doing this to get rich. You're doing this for a quality product, and you're doing this for an experience, and you're doing this sometimes out of necessity, like with gardening. Be content with what you put up if you've had a hard gardening year. Some years I can 50 quarts of green beans, some years 7 quarts of green beans, some years 150. So be glad with the wins that you do have in these hard times, and be grateful for the wins that you have, because the wins are always, if you look at it correctly, a win can simply be something learned. So I would encourage everybody to realize that homesteading isn't for everyone, but I would encourage everybody to try at least a certain level of it, because it's rewarding on all levels.